So let's begin with that. So guys, welcome to our market का हाल पब्लिक की जुबान. So this is something like a financial पंचायत टाइप कि हम सब फाइनेंस वाले जनरली आते हैं कुछ दिन भर की मार्केट के हाल चाल के बाद फ्री होके हमारा डिस्कशन और करते हैं. So this is kind of that conversation जो कि informally we can do all these kind of talks with random things. So ये है. So anyone would like to come up, आप आ सकते हैं, डिस्कशन और कर सकते हैं. इसी डिस्कशन में वी कीप ऑन एंगेजिंग, वी कीप ऑन नेटवर्किंग. दैट्स हाउ वी डू कि फाइनेंशियल्स में मार्केट का क्या चल रहा है. तो ये चीज़ हम लोग कॉमनली करते रहते हैं. सो यही चीज़ का हम लोग करते रहते हैं. इसी के साथ मेरे साथ जो है चेतन सर है एंड धीरेन्द्र सर है और एक और जना है वो जल्दी आने वाला है. एंड आई थिंक सपोर्ट आउट देने के लिए महावीर जी भी अभी आएगा. सो चेतन सर आप हो यहाँ पे?
Yeah, I'm there. I think Dhiren can start off maybe. Yeah.
अच्छा, आप सबको इनवाइट कर रहे हैं. चलो चेतन सर अभी बिजी है,
Okay, invite
सबको
करना है.
टेक्स्ट करके बुलाएंगे. हाँ, तो धीरेन्द्र सर क्या लग रहा है आजकल मार्केट का हाल पब्लिक की जुबान पे? केसरी है या क्या है?
From I'll give both the perspectives, trading as well as investing. So first I'll start with trading. Okay, from a trading short term view, we are stuck in a range, So नीचे में 15,150, ऊपर में 15,800 types. उसके बीच में हम लोग we are just seesawing between those ranges. However, today I always wanted a close above 690, which we've got. Okay, and so my sense is that agar abhi to filhal it's too early to say, but right now the world is flying. The XGX looks positive, but nevertheless, I believe that we should try and retest 800 levels once, and once if that is consciously taken off, यानी मंडे को क्लोज भी आ जाता है उसके ऊपर, then we can say that somewhere a short term bottom is made and we might attempt a 16,200 to 300 to 400 type of levels, and then we take each level as it comes. So there is a good RSI divergence from a technical point of view. We are oversold in a lot of ways. So a technical bounce is due. However, one thing people should understand, that a trend is still down, it is nowhere up. So whether it's a technical bounce only, or actually a bottom has been made and then eventually the trend will also change, will be hindsight, वो आपको बाद में ही मालूम पड़ेगा. So say once we cross 16,400, then the trend actually changes to up, and then we can say कि okay, the big overnight bottom has been made, and now things are looking to go maybe sideways. Your inflation and etc has been factored in, and now slowly things will improve. And I guess by the time even your results season will kick in, and that will also tell a story in terms of whether the growth story is still intact, or there is some dampener from a quarterly result perspective. And obviously we need to understand what commentary people give after the results. So this is the technical point of view. So we are in a broad range. I'm taking each level as it comes. Last 2 months have been very difficult for a trend trader as well as a non-directional trader, because of the insane gaps it has had, and the intraday wild moves. Like yesterday was a very wild move. It cut the buyer also, it cut the seller also. And so it's, unless until you're a scalper, then you'll have made money. So these are very difficult markets to trade, so to say. And I believe there should be one good trending move coming, which will be quite seamless and smooth from a market point of view. So that is the technical. Now I'm coming to the fundamental point. Fundamental, I think we are close to around 18, 19 P forward P right now. If you see COVID lows, I think we reversed from a 17 point odd P, 17.8 odd P से हम लोग घूम गए थे. If we take the same number, that number will come around 13,800 to 14,200, plus minus 100 points. वैसा. So I believe, that should be the same COVID value you are getting now, because our earnings have gone up, etc. has gone up. So that that EPS has also moved up, and hence that price has discounted those numbers. But right now we are fairly valued. Like we are definitely nowhere close to being overvalued. We are quite decently valued. In fact, we are quite fairly valued. So from that perspective, it will be difficult whether we turn from 18 odd or we actually touch that 17.8 or 17.7, whatever that number is. So it's a question of another 400, 500 points. So I believe that it's a very tricky one. 500 point is nothing in scheme of when the index is 16,000. So I believe if really one is looking and been waiting on the sidelines, maybe they can do some level to level buying, saying that I'll buy 50% now, and if market goes on another 800 so 500 points, I'll buy the balance 50%, or at least I'll pump in 50% if the market then goes up and crosses 16,400, maybe I will pyramid upwards, because it's impossible to catch a bottom. That's what I've always believed, and I've always seen that when people try to catch the bottom, they miss the boat totally. So yeah, I believe, but always go for quality stocks. Don't go for insane small cap names where people have not even heard, or people don't know what the story is actually. It's more of hearsay or tips. So go for logical names, brands, and real quality stocks. They will outperform. They will give you stability, and they will work for your hard-earned money. So yeah, that's there. I hope this view has helped, and if anybody has any queries or questions, we can take it up.
That's interesting, Dhiren sir. But Dhiren sir, I think आज queries वाला we didn't put it out. We put this session is more like a पंचायत है. But I think so true. आपने टेक्निकल फ्रंट ऑफ व्यू अच्छा बता दिया इन टर्म्स ऑफ मार्केट का क्या लग रहा है. बट आई थिंक आप भी समझ गए पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू. बट व्हाट डू यू थिंक लाइक पब्लिक का भी क्या माइंडसेट चल रहा है, क्योंकि व्हाट आई लुक आउट इस टाइम पे जो पहले की पब्लिक थी और अब की जो पब्लिक है, इट एक्चुअली चेंज्ड आउट.
So I have two theories. Obviously, there are guys who have good income, in the sense, their salary, they have a decent inflow coming in month after month. So those guys are well insulated. They are doing their SIPs. They are buying quality stocks at every dips, and so they are not worried because they know कि अगर और नीचे आएगा तो मैं और खरीद सकता हूँ. So that is one set of people. Other set of people is, people who are clueless, don't have a plan. So they had X money. Now they're pumped in that X money. Now the prices have fallen further by 10, 20%. Now they don't have that enough money to average it, or they don't know what to do. So in fact, a lot of places I have seen the margins have gone bust, and people have to sold their stocks at a loss, purely because a lot of guys, a lot of people actually do take this leverage thing. So, say if somebody's holding stocks worth, say, 50 lakhs. So they will pledge it, they will get around, 60, 70% of the value as a haircut, and they'll use the same thing to do trading with it in futures and options, or primarily right options. Now what happens is option has been losing ground, plus plus your portfolio has been dropping. So that 20 lakhs eventually also becomes 25 lakhs, and your value of that portfolio also goes down, and hence your haircut also goes down. So it's like a double whammy. Leverage when used it right works like a charm, but leverage when आप बराबर use नहीं करते, and it comes back biting you very badly. So both these guys have the leverage, and the non-planned ones have really struggled, is what I know. And I've seen, in fact, with my one traditional broker, a lot of people have sold off their earnings when last time's market touched 15,200. On that panic day where from 15,800 we came all the way down to 15,200 in one day itself. So that day basically I know कि बहुत लोगों का माल फूटा था, because either their margin triggers happened, etc. So generally bottom में ही ये सब होता है. So let's see whether actually it's a bottom or it's just a feel good bottom.
दैट्स ट्रू. पर वो देखने लायक चीज़ है सर, क्या होता है, ठीक है, वोलेटिलिटी अच्छी है क्योंकि बहुत है आफ्टर द डिस्काउंट ब्रोकर थिंग कम्स अप ना. सो लोगों का मार्जिन काफ़ी आ गया, ट्रेडर आधे काफ़ी ज़्यादा बन गए हैं. सो आई थिंक जो न्यू वाइज ट्रेडर्स जिसे हम कहते हैं अपनी लैंग्वेज में, वो काफ़ी सल्टे हैं. बट लेट्स सी बाकी पब्लिक का क्या होगा. आई थिंक महावीर सर ही इज ए चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट, ही इज आल्सो वर्किंग इन दैट पार्ट. सो महावीर सर आपके पास क्या ऐसे पब्लिक सभी कुछ आ रही है आपके, क्या लग रहा है पब्लिक का भी आपके?
Please give the disclaimer that this is not financial investment advice, and please consult your financial advisor before making any decision. This is just for discussion purpose. Yeah, you can just call this. I think the public. We want to know what is the public view. How are they viewing the market?
That's why I'm calling on the public part. कि whatever guys यहाँ पे हम लोग जो भी डिस्कस आउट करेंगे, इट्स बीइंग लिमिटेड विदाउट नो एडवाइस, नथिंग एल्स. यहाँ पे सिर्फ पर्पस मोस्टली वी कीप ऑन डूइंग दिस डिस्कशन सो दैट डिस्कशन से वी गेट टू नो अबाउट द मार्केट पार्ट. आप सबको भी रहता ही है, सबकी नॉलेज बढ़ती है. सो बस थोड़ी एक डेढ़ घंटे का ही वी डू इट आउट. सो एनीवन वुड लाइक टू कम अप, कुछ व्यू थॉट्स है रिगार्डिंग द मार्केट पार्ट, आ सकते हैं, शेयर आउट कर सकते हैं. एंड बाय द टाइम जब तक आप आते हैं, मैं सबको आई थिंक मैंने लिंकअप कर ही दिया. महावीर सर को आई एम कॉलिंग, और पता नहीं वो आ नहीं रही. सो चेतन सर आप बताओ क्या लग रहा है आपके पास, क्या मार्केट का व्यू है? लो अनुराग भी आ गया, आप बुला रहे थे काफ़ी टाइम से, अनुराग भी आ ही गया. नाउ ही माइट हैव सम इंटरेस्टिंग आंसर्स ओवर इट, बट या. सो चेतन सर यू टेल मी, हाउ इज द मार्केट गोइंग ऑन, व्हाट्स द म्यूचुअल फंड सीन सिनेरियो? आपके पास तो काफ़ी ज़्यादा एसआईपीज म्यूचुअल फंड्स में लगे रहते हैं सर आप.
नहीं, अभी तो रिटेल में तो नहीं. there's no panic in the retail. People are going on with their FIPS and the retail money, and that is why the market is holding so strong. Obviously, stocks like LIC and all could not do well because the IPO market is totally finished in that sense for the time being. It always happens. If you look at history also, in the infotech boom in 2000 or 2008, Reliance Power had come out with a big IPO, and at that time it just sucked up all the liquidity from the market. This time it is not like that. People are. It is good that the valuations have come down to some reasonable level. Like Dharen was saying, yes, the PEs are slightly reasonable, but obviously, if the market has to go down, it can go down one standard deviation. So it can come down a little further also. And if it has to stabilize here, that can also happen. It depends also on a lot of factors. But this week, we have got a lot of positive news on the commodity prices and all coming down, and oil coming down. That will impact India, and that could impact India in the medium term. But we will have to see whether it is a flash in the pan, या ये आगे भी चलेगा. So just now I am neutral. I was slightly negative earlier in the past few weeks, looking at the macros, at the interest rates, the what the Fed, the central bankers are going to do, inflation. But if you look at macros, see, all these macro economists are always bearish. If you keep looking at the macros, you will not see the turning point. So I do not want to miss the turning point in the market looking too closely at the macros. We will also have to look at the real situation. So in that, obviously, Ukraine, Russia war, commodity prices, whether they're coming down, and more importantly, also what the Fed is doing in USA, that could also impact us in the short term. In 2023, it's a different ball game whether India will emerge stronger or not. Too early to say just now. So that is my view. I was slightly bearish till a few weeks ago. Now I am neutral, but I'm waiting for the signal to see whether, like Dharen said correctly, whether this is a short-term suckers rally. In the technical word, which is suckers rally, is that a bear market rally, or whether it is actually a base forming. Obviously, no one can time the market, no one can catch the bottom or the top. But yes, now looking back at things, when Paytm IPO came out and things were overvalued, even till March, we had some stocks which were overvalued. Suddenly, after March, after the LIC IPO, things have started going downhill for the market for a lot of individual stocks, is my feeling. So yes, you have to follow your asset allocation, risk tolerance, all those things, which we say generally. Easier said than done, but that is what my take is. Yeah. Over to I think Anurag or Sanchit. So sorry, you put in a word and whatever you want to comment, and then we can call in Anurag. Yeah. Thank you.
या श्योर. नहीं, अनुराग का तो अभी नेटवर्क सही है, उसको थोड़ा रेस्ट देना चाह रहा हूँ मैं कि भाई आप पहले पूरा अपना सेट कर लो. बट बाय द टाइम आपने जो बात कही इन्फ्लेशनरी प्रेशर, आई थिंक दैट इज़ ट्रू. इन्फ्लेशनरी प्रेशर के चक्कर में अभी जिस तरीके से कमोडिटी प्राइसेस के भी बाहर नीचे आए, दैट्स अ गोल्डन पॉइंट. बट सर एज फार एज द असेट एलोकेशन और जो प्राइसिंग मॉडल आप बता रहे हो LIC का, दैट इज़ ट्रू कि वो गिर गया है. लेकिन बात वही है ना सर, जो इन्वेस्टर्स घुस गए, जो ये सोच के बैठ गए LIC लंबा चलेगा, 200 रुपये का भाव नीचे आ गया, सो फॉर देम इट इज़ अ लॉस मेकिंग पार्ट. एज फार एज द पेटीएम थिंग इज कंसर्न, 21,000 का आइटम अब तो खैर 2100 का आइटम अब तो खैर 600 पे भी आके बैठ गया. सो दैट ए गुड थिंग कि पूरे मार्केट में वो गिर गया, पर वो वापस से 600-630 पे आके अपनी स्टेबिलिटी बना गया. पर ये लुकआउट है कि अब आगे जाके कैसे परफॉर्मेंस आउट रहेंगे. एज यू सेड कि असेट एलोकेशन वर्कआउट करनी चाहिए, पर हाल फिलहाल तो जितनी भी अगर अपन इक्विटी असेट्स देखें, सबके साथ रेड ब्लड बात का गेम खेले जा रहे हैं. है, पर वो पेशेंस की टेस्टिंग तो चल ही रही है. एज फार एज अगर अपन प्रेशियस मेटल्स को देखें तो गोल्ड और सिल्वर ने ऐसे कोई मूवमेंट दिया ही नहीं है, जो जिनको हम जनरली इन्फ्लेशन हैच भी कहते हैं. पर अच्छी बात भी यही कि उन्होंने कोई मूवमेंट नहीं दिया है. सो दैट मीन्स आपकी कैपिटल जिन्होंने भी कमोडिटीज़ में थे, प्रीशियस मेटल्स में थे, दे हैव लाइक अपनी कैपिटल को भी प्रिजर्व कर रखा है. बट एज फार एज अगर आप करेंसी का देखें जिस तरीके से वो डेप्रिशिएट हुई है इंडियन रूपी के हिसाब से, सो आई बिलीव आउट कि अपनी इंडियन गवर्नमेंट कुछ ना कुछ एक्शन तो लेगी ही, सो दैट दे कैन अप्रिशिएट द इंडियन रूपी पार्ट, जो अपने को एक बेनिफिट आउट कर सकता है. बट आगे तो लेट्स सी आउट कि एज एन इन्वेस्टर लॉन्ग टर्म मार्केट इज़ अ गुड थिंग. आपको इवन बिलीव आउट नहीं करोगे सर, अभी हम लोग के रिसेंटली सबसे ज़्यादा डिमांड आ रही है पब्लिक में, इट कम्स आउट टू बी एन एस आई पी. पब्लिक की एस आई पी इस बार काफ़ी ज़्यादा बढ़ी है इन टर्म्स ऑफ डिमांड पार्ट. मैं काफ़ी ज़्यादा अभी देख भी रहा था. आपको बिलीव आउट नहीं होगा कि हमारे डिपार्टमेंट में लाइक समवेयर अराउंड 300 प्लस एस आई पी इन अ सिंगल डे पंच इन हुई है. सो दैट मीन्स पब्लिक अवेयर आउट हुई है. पब्लिक को ये पैनिक में भी अपॉर्चुनिटी दिख रही है. बट लेट्स सी आगे क्या अपॉर्चुनिटीज है. बट यस, ओवरऑल मार्केट इज गुड आउट. लेट्स, आई थिंक अनुराग वांट्स टू से समथिंग आई थिंक. अनुराग, हाय, गुड इवनिंग, हाउ आर यू?
Hi guys, hope everyone's doing really well.
यस, ऑसम.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I think I I might be wrong, saying that these are interesting times because there's so much to look forward to, as and how so much to gauge from this as well because these are interesting situations. I was just I think reading late afternoon today or early evening that I think there's a new round of talks that has been initiated, and finally this could be the penultimate or ultimate peace talks that might lead to a ceasefire. I'm not sure. I mean, this actually this new snippet came in, and right after that, there's been this new announcement wherein Ukraine has gotten its European Union candidate status amid the war. So I'm not sure. I mean, this is a double sword game that's going on. On one side, the peace talks were on, and if they do get a finalization on their European candidate status, I don't think those peace talks would go on. So that is one of the crucial factors as to how not just Indian or Asian but global markets would pan out. But there was this brilliant article by Jerome Powell just a few days back, and it's interesting because usually whenever an economy is looking towards or staring down the face of recession, the first thing that any central bank does is reduce the rates because they have to boost up the demand. At this point in time, especially for the US economy or the European economies for that matter, alongside high inflation, they are also looking down the barrel of recession, upcoming recession. As we've already read that US might be getting into a recession if this quarter does not go well. And as far as India is concerned, or maybe most of the other Asian markets are concerned, that the recession bit is not a problem. I mean, I think we're growing pretty well. But if they face recession and they start chopping up rates, I don't think the inflationary pressures would have any helping coming in if the global markets start facing the growth brunt. So yeah, I mean, we all know that one market is related to others. Nifty can definitely just not keep growing on its own if the Fed starts coming into the play, trying to balance inflation as well as recession, trying to boost up the demand while keeping interest rates high. So yeah, I mean, this is a unique economic situation as far as macros are concerned, as Chetan pointed out. Even the micros are taking a hit as far as unique situations are concerned. So yeah, thank you so much for that, Sanchit.
Most welcome, Anurag. By the way, that's really true, yeah. As far as the macros and micros are concerned, even you won't believe out, I recently had communicated with one of the exporters house also. So जब उनसे मेरी बातचीत चली थी तो दे ऑल्सो सेड अबाउट यार इवन हम लोग को शिपमेंट तक कहीं अटका है, किसी का शिपमेंट भी प्रॉपर आउट नहीं हो पा रहे जस्ट बिकॉज रशिया यूक्रेन का वॉर का वो चला है, तो इस चक्कर में उनकी कुछ डिलीवरी एंड सप्लाई भी डिमांड इम्पैक्ट आउट हुई है. बट दे सेड आउट किया संचित, ये तो अभी चल रहा है लेकिन बाद में जाके कितना इम्पैक्ट आएगा दे डिडंट नो आउट. सो ऑन अ गुड साइड द मार्केट इज अपसाइड, बट वही है कि अभी रिसेंट फैक्टर में जो सर्वाइवल इशू जो आ रहा है सबके पास, दैट इज बिगेस्ट चैलेंजिंग पार्ट. तो उसी की वजह से कॉन्फिडेंस जो आता है ना मार्केट को लेके या किसी के भी, वो काफ़ी कम है. इवन आई नीड टू आस्क धीरेन्द्र सर एज वेल. धीरेन्द्र सर, यू देयर ना?
Yeah, go on.
So Devendra, I want to ask you कि अभी what I want to ask हमारे so what is, I need to ask you one thing कि आपको अभी क्या लग रहा है like in terms of कोलेक्टर मार्जिन पार्ट, क्योंकि आई थिंक जुलाई जून के बाद से जिस तरीके से कोलेक्टर मार्जिन भी इंक्रीज आउट हुआ है लास्ट मंथ से, उससे काफ़ी ज़्यादा इम्पैक्ट आउट हुआ होगा ट्रेडर्स को भी।
Correct. So
तो
the thing is, other traders were using those typical discount brokers like Zerodha, stocks and etc. Good thing for them is कि वहाँ कोई margin increase नहीं हुआ because पहले भी वो लोग 50% देते थे और अभी भी वो 50% ही दे रहे हैं. You know, those guys have been taking 50% since I think now 1.5 year plus. You know, so assuming you have 50 lakhs of stocks which you put as collateral, say you get 35 lakhs out of it. Now, if you are going to buy stocks worth 10 lakhs in futures and options, you know, 5 lakhs you can use from this 35 lakhs, and balance 5 lakhs you still have to pump in of your own, you know, and that's how it went, you know. So discount brokers वाले पे फर्क नहीं हुआ, जो traditional brokers use करते थे, somebody like a Sher Khan or whatever, you know, those guys will slightly get affected, you know, because of the margin structure has changed. But otherwise, your majority won't get affected because majority is already on discount. So yeah.
बट आपको नहीं लगता इससे काफ़ी ज़्यादा मतलब जो नए नए बेचारे ट्रेडर्स हैं जो सोच के थे फ्यूचर्स ऑप्शन में करते हैं, बट एट द एंड ऑफ द डे ये ऑप्शन में तो वैसे भी वो प्रीमियम का लास्ट मंथ का जो ऑप्शन बचता है उसका वैसे उनको पूरा मार्जिन देना पड़ता है, नहीं तो पेनल्टी
करेक्ट
मार्जिन लग
करेक्ट
जाता
करेक्ट,
है।
वो तो चालू ही है, वो तो काफी टाइम से चालू है कि अभी जैसे मंडे से brokers will take 50% margin and from Tuesday they'll take nearly 100% from second half, you know,
बराबर।
if you're carrying the current series expiry. So I think it is a drug which people use of futures and options, and somewhere वो नहीं करते तो उन लोग को मजा नहीं आता. But the point is, you know, 99% people do without learning and how to use it. You know, it's a great tool if you use it right, but when people use it with half knowledge or with no knowledge at all, it sets a disaster somewhere in down the line.
नो दैट्स ट्रू बट आई थिंक इससे इम्पैक्ट भी पड़ा ही है क्योंकि इनको पता है पेनल्टी मार्जिन है, सो आई थिंक दे अंडरस्टैंड इट आउट कि एटलीस्ट इनिशियल मार्जिन के साथ साथ एक पी एंड एल मार्जिन भी उनको मेंटेन आउट रखना चाहिए। सो आई थिंक वो बहुत ज़्यादा हुआ है, बट रिसेंटली दे ऑल्सो कमिंग अप ना, से भी कुछ एल्गो ट्रेडर्स के हिसाब से भी कुछ क्लैन आउट एक्शन कर रही थी, इसका आपको कुछ आइडिया है इस पर?
Nay, not really.
क्योंकि आई रिसेंटली केम अक्रॉस, मेरे को कब था यार, लास्ट वीक पहले ही मैंने रीड आउट किया था कि सेबी इज कमिंग अप विद सम कंसल्टेशन ऑन एल्गो ट्रेडर्स पार्ट, कि
अच्छा,
एल्गो
वो तो
ट्रेडर्स
अभी
के
आई थिंक बैकबर्नर पे, अभी तक तो उसका कुछ आया ही नहीं है, वो काफी टाइम पहले का, 4-5 महीने पहले का न्यूज है. आई डोंट थिंक सो एनीथिंग हैज मूव्ड ऑन फ्रंट ऑन दैट.
नहीं रिसेंटली भी आया था, एक हफ्ते पहले भी आया था रिगार्डिंग कंप्लायंस पार्ट, एल्गो ट्रेडर्स के रिगार्डिंग एक कंप्लायंस का भी आया था। उसके बाद अभी तो ये सेबी आ रहा है, ये का आया सेबी की जिस तरीके से कंप्लायंसेस पार्ट चल रहे हैं उस चीज़ को लेके आया था अभी।
ओके.
हाँ, तो उसके बाद तो अब सही कर दिया ना कि जितने भी हम लोग आर आई एस है, डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स है या फिर ब्रोकर्स का तो पहले साइबर सिक्योरिटी ऑडिट होता था, अब आर आई एस का भी हमें साइबर सिक्योरिटी ऑडिट के हिसाब से डाल दिया है।
करेक्ट.
तो ये कहानी हो गई, तो अब ये कहानी हो गई कि हम लोगों को भी साइबर सिक्योरिटी ऑडिट करवाना पड़ जाता है। हमने कहा यार भाई साहब पहले एक साथ ही बता दो, सारे ऑडिट एक साथ ही करा देंगे, हर एक सी की कमाई करा रही है तो हमें पहले ही बोल दो आप।
यू आर टॉकिंग फ्रॉम अ माइक और यू आर टॉकिंग नॉर्मली?
सर मैं नॉर्मली बोल रहा हूँ, क्या आवाज़ नहीं आ रही थी क्या?
अभी आ रही ठीक, पहले थोड़ा मफल्ड हो रहा था एक्चुअली.
अच्छा, नहीं मैं कह रहा था कि ये जिस तरीके से सीवी कंप्लायंसेस डाले जा रहे हैं, मुझे लग रहा है या तो वो सी की कमाई करा रहे हैं या तो वो खुद की कमाई के साथ साथ हमें परेशान कर रहे हैं।
ये सब होते ही रहेगा यार. समवेयर दे वांट टू एम्पावर द रिटेल, बट if they really want to empower, they should just stop weeklies. But they don't do that. Yeah. So.
Yeah, Sanchit, I just wanted to ask one question from Anurag. He was talking about something in the US that if the growth falters and all. But are we sure that we are going in for a recession in the US? Because Powell is saying that it might not still happen. They're trying their best. So what is the likelihood just now? Or I mean, what are the on the ground? What are the factors which might which could happen? Yeah, the recession has to happen.
So, Chetan, valid point there. But as far as I've read, as much number crunching I've done, the people obviously, who are in charge of the government at this point in time, like, I think last week itself, Biden had been posed a similar question at a conference, and he said we are trying our level best that it won't be a scenario. I think Pavel said it's not imperative, quote unquote. So I mean, nobody is very clear on this. And if you go into the numbers, I think if they do not take drastic actions, I think last quarter of this year, if that is not a boom, because they're relying heavily on the last quarter basis of the fact that's going to be the spending quarter. I mean, the holiday season quarter. But the issue is, Chetan, the interesting situation in this scenario is the one thing that can pump up demand is lowering of rates, right? People get liquidity and they're able to splash out money, and the economy takes a boost. Now the interesting scenario in this case is this liquidity is kind of floating around in the market, and the reason why they're pumping up rates, the interest rates are going up, is only to suck out that liquidity. You cannot balance both these pendulums in the cross middle of not increasing the interest rates and still kind of boosting up demand. It is, I genuinely don't think that's possible, going back by basic economics, whether that's macro, whether that's micro. So I genuinely think the third quarter is going to be quite interesting. We are almost at the end of the second quarter. So let's see, I mean, how that pans out, because, obviously, as we know, their economy and the decisions that they take would have, not just Indian, but global repercussions. That's my take on it, Chetan. I mean, I would love to know what you, Dhiren, or Sanchit have to say on that.
No, but Anurag, in the context, that's a valid point you said. We'll have to see whatever happens in the future, in that sense that they have to increase interest rates to suck out the liquidity, but the impact on the growth will have to be seen. They say that in India there's a trinity of factors for the RBI. The three factors would be controlling inflation, looking at growth, and looking at the currency. All three, they said, the trinity factors cannot be managed together like it happened in 2013. So what is your view on the Indian context on the trinity of factors?
See, as far as I think, Chetan, at this point in time, growth should not be an issue, because I genuinely think with the advent of COVID, the IT sector, whether it's or the manufacturing sector, the most of the sectors in the Indian market, obviously, I mean, farming is one sector, which is heavily reliant on natural conditions. I mean, you cannot make up a stable monsoon or a good harvest. But the other factors, I think, have been playing out very well for the Indian economy per se, whether it is infrastructure, whether it is manufacturing, or the money that comes in through service industry. It definitely has taken a boost because of the last 2 years. So growth, I genuinely don't think should be that much of an issue, as the US is balancing the two pendulum side of boosting up demand, still trying to take down the inflation. I think as far as India is concerned, the most important factor would be inflation, especially for the fact that, the first two outings of the RBI, wherein, they did notch up the rates, was not as successful. Even the last week's WPI was higher as compared to the, the further 2 weeks WPI. And for the fact that the general elections are not 18 or I think 20 months away from it, public memory usually on such sensitive matters as inflation, because we cannot compromise on the political factor of it. It's the ruling party which has a huge say as to how the governance is going to be done. And inflation at this point in time is definitely something which is biting the common person. So I think inflation would definitely be on the top of the RBI and the governing government's list.
Okay, yeah, got your point that inflation is going to be paramount in India. After that, we'll have to look at the other factors. Yet it's not impacting growth, so we can be a little complacent on that. But still, we'll have to be a little alert also. Sorry, complacent would be the wrong word. We'll still have to be alert that the growth doesn't get impacted. And currency depreciation, though, I think the RBI is a little comfortable because we've not gone down the 3 or 4% every year, which normally a currency like India on the RWR would have gone down on. But anyway, Sanchit, back to you. If you want to invite any of the audience, if any of the audience wants to ask something or wants to say something about what the experience in the markets has been of lately, of the last 6 months, 1 year, or whatever. Yeah, Sanchit, over to you.
Yes sir, I think मैंने audience में invite out भी किया हुआ है, so anyone in the audience आपको किसी को आना है आप आ सकते हैं, like it's more like a public talks, so आप सबका most welcome है, please आप आ सकते हैं, कोई भी anything, any doubts you have, anything you want to share out or any perspective you have regarding the market, please आप आ सकते हैं. And this room is more about a discussion part, so nothing advice, only thing is about the discussion thing we are doing it out. Chetan sir and Anurag, like yesterday I was just listening to the Jeremy Powell, the US Fed speech. I think that comes on the late in the later in the night as well, right? तो जब मैं उनकी वो स्पीच आउट सुन रहा था, so I came across that their focus, they know that they are distributed n numerous of liquidity in the market during the time of COVID times, right? So अब recently they had a very good congressman discussions हो रहा था, positions हो रहा था. So they a congressman asked them a question on that point कि that by sunking out that liquidity part, do you think that they are deep growing the America growth? So the Jeremy Powell has speed out and he said out that they are they are delaying the growth aspect part. So what's your take on it, guys? Like, so do you think like by increasing the rate of interest, they are able to delay the growth path, or does it impact the America to get into the recession part? Because if America get into a recession, that means in India will be get impacted somewhere in any way. So what's your take on it, guys?
Anurag, the question is for you. I think you can give a better thing because you've been following the US economy quite in detail. Yeah.
Chetan, I think that's exactly what I had pointed out, some time back, and that's a valid question there, Sanchit. I thought Dhiren sir was about to take that, so yeah, I'm so sorry. That's one of the reasons, I thought I'll just take it on the second go. I think at this point in time, as I see it, the third quarter mostly they would want to curtail the inflation because at this point in time, for the last 8 months, if I'm not wrong, there has been a consistent month-on-month increase as far as WPI and RPI has been concerned. The retail inflation and wholesale inflation as a tantamount in the US. But I genuinely think by the fourth quarter of it, or the second half of the fourth quarter, let's say starting somewhere around October, if I think late October, they would want to boost their demand side, because that is the time when their demand picks up. That is the time which is where the annual baseline, the bottom line of all the retailers, whether it's online, it's offline, or the going out patterns as far as the US or the European markets are concerned, picks up. It usually does. So I genuinely think that would be one of the times where they would want to ease out the inflation and focus more so on the growth part. And in the third quarter, if they're able to take down the inflation percentage even by two solid points, as in 200 basis points, that's 2%. I genuinely think the fourth quarter would be dedicated surely completely to boosting up the demand and making sure that that a cycle of going down into. So I hope there's this, you must know there's this pattern wherein if you have slid into the third quarter of negative growth, that's recession. So I think if the fourth quarter of this year goes into that particular into that phase, then they might be staring at a serious recession. So I think the groundwork is pretty much laid. The next quarter should be dedicated completely to sucking out the inflationary pressure, and the fourth would be to make sure that the economy does not slip into recession. That's my take on it, guys.
That's totally true on that aspect part, because whatever we have seen till now, there is no recession till yet. But yeah, we never know, the history repeats in different manner or something similar alike. But yes, like in the last comment part when Jeremy Pullman said out that we are very flexible on it, but if there is need to required out to reduce the demand so that the prices will come down, rather than focusing on increasing the supply part, he said it out that we will increase the rate of interest in future as well if it's required out, but till now we are flexible over it. Let's see what they have planned out, because their action and their decision actually impacts our currencies and even the gold prices and the market as well. So the entire world is watching their decision now. As far as Indian growth story is concerned, we are being very sure about that. Our government is being doing a great task because they are advancedly being working out. But we never know what's the uncommon or unexpected event may come up and meet up all our desires and their expectations. So it's just a thing we need to look it out there. And let's go ahead with Mahaveer sir. You there? I think Mahaveer sir has been quiet for a while. Mahaveer sir, you there?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, 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 I can hear you very well. So,
So, sir,
Mahaveer
like,
sir, tell.
I'm not a like, yes, so I'm not a like a professional guy. I do valuation, so I know and I'm interested in market. I'm tracking market from last 15 years, but still, like, I'm not a quite like professional guy. But I have my opinion, and like, I have like only one question to like Anurag sir and Chetan sir, that we are seeing that commodities price are falling down. But the thing is that what's the reason behind that? Nobody, like, I think nobody is going to see that particular reason, because thing is that there will be a supply excess or there will be a demand shortage. These two reasons are for there, because today the copper price is down from the starting of the June week. Copper price is continuously down, and what my belief and what my experience in last 15 years is that when the copper prices start getting declined, there is a clear indicator of the recession in the world. Like, there is this demand grow and economic slowdown or growth is going to be negative territory. This types of situation. Crude is falling down, but still, like, Europe is in the crisis. They are the Europe. If you see the European gas prices and Germany electricity prices, yesterday there is a statement from Germany side that we have initiated the stage 2 of our emergency plan. Like, we are in the crisis types of situation. Next 2 weeks there will be a winter. They are and there will be a more pain there. So I want to know your views on that part, because commodity price are falling, but what if there is a demand, like reduction in the demand? Then there is a clean signal of like there will be a recession. Fed is already accepted that they are behind they are behind to taking the actions. So, like, what your views on that, on this particular point?
And Mahaveer sir, you said you are not that much of experience in the market. You said I'm not expert part, and then you have asked such a brilliant and amazing question.
No, but Sanchit, you
Like,
should be replying, because I think Sanchit is the head of investment advisory at KDI Capital, so he deals a lot in commodity. So Sanchit would be the right person to tell you about the commodity scene.
I'm not too good. I have not been tracking that much commodities as well, sir. So sorry, but yeah, some of my partners were catching it out. So I'm not too good on the commodities part right now. I'm still learning it out. I'm totally an investment guy, not entirely track commodities yet. But yes, I think Anurag, you have any idea about that? What the Mahaveer sir has said it out, or due to the glitch part, you missed out some question of him?
Yeah, Sanjit, I'm so sorry. I think I just I heard the last bit of it, but if you could just rephrase the question for me, I'm really sorry about it.
okay, let me rephrase. So the commodities price are continuously falling, like crude is falling, natural gas is falling, other metals are falling, precious metals are falling, but like the other requiratory metals for which is required in the industry and growth, like copper is start falling from the starting of the June. So can we say that, like, there are two reasons when a commodity price falls: either the excess of the supply or there is a like reduction in the demand. So if there is a reduction in the demand, then can we say that is a clean indicator of there is a recession, or we are going in a very in a zone where then we can see a negative growth for next 2 or 3 quarters? Because if we see, as you previously mentioned, if there is a negative growth for 3 quarters, then we can clearly say that we are in the recession. So because I'm continuously tracking the commodities price, like copper is my favorite, and right now copper is in a negative zone. So that's my biggest concern. So I want to know your opinion on this particular point.
So I'm not a commodities expert, but I would still, voice out this particular fact about commodities. So, uh, any commodity stock that you would check, whether it be even the stalwarts of the industry, even let's just take Tata Steel for that matter. These are cyclical stocks, sir. I mean, and any cyclical stock for that matter, whether it is Vedanta, whether it is Hindalco, you just pick up Hindalco for that matter. In the last 2 months, Hindalco has actually seen, a whirlwind. It's nothing short of a what do you call it? It's actually been a merry-go-round. I mean, up, down, up, down. Cyclical stocks would always face these issues. I'm glad that there's somebody who's so passionate about commodities, because usually people avoid going into commodities for this particular fact only. But one of the reasons, you mentioned crude as well. Uh, See, at the beginning of the war itself, it was assumed that Russia might as well just run out of money, because most of the people had most of the countries had imposed sanctions on them. And we're not talking about weak countries, let's say for a Kenya or a Bangladesh for that matter. We're actually talking about the European Union. We're talking about the US lobby. But if you read, I think earlier in June itself, Russia announced, and they denied two of the Indian super buyers, HPCL and BPCL, that they won't be able to supply any oil because they've sold all their oil for the next quarter end as well. Think about it. So they've already, so there's this point wherein there's a particular shortage wherein a war actually induced a shortage, and then people started piling up. Just fearing that in the next weeks or coming months there might be a shortage of the essential materials. At this point in time, there 6 months back, there was such a devastating shortage of microchips or semiconductors. At this point in time, most of the behemoths of the market, let's say for example Bajaj or the Marutis of the world, they do not face those issues because they had actually piled it up. So industry essentials, yes, the big players always pile it up as in how they have a chance to, and that's one of the reasons because they have excess, they do not need it anymore, and that forces the prices to crumble.
Okay, but for if we take your point, then in case like US SPR, special reserve, they have created for the crude, it's the lowest of the point in last 40 years. So, and if like there is a price are going down and industry like they are not still buying it, it's like clean like indicator of the recession. Because my brother in this commodity business, like he deals with edible commodities like pulses, dry fruits, and these nuts and these types of things. So he told me like the situation in India is right now currently that we are not able to sell pulses in the Indian market. So I think like market is like these macroeconomic factors are the lagging indicator. They show their impact in the market like after 3 months. So my opinion is that we are in a trouble period. Recession is coming on way. India might not face a direct recession. We are maybe in the stage of stagflation, but yes, like things are not good. My opinion is this.
I think stagflation is a pertinent word that you've used there, sir. Yeah, I pretty much agree with you on that.
Even I would like to also add on one point. I think Mahaveer sir, what you have pinched out now, whether the even the demand is clear cut, but the supply part there's a shortage part. So अगर मैं आपको simple language में if I'll tell you about now what actually happening out in the commodity part, like after listening out the conversation and whatever the knowledge I gained it out in it, the thing is I might be wrong in that part as well. So do correct me out. So the thing is what I have seen it out. So there is a demand earlier, but due to the money crunch issue, so the demand has been stopped down. And another factor comes is supply shortage part. So हो क्या रहा है, जहाँ पे पहले डिमांड 100 रुपये की आनी थी, वहाँ पे आज भी 100 रुपये की डिमांड आ गई, लेकिन वो 100 रुपये की डिमांड को फुलफिल करने के लिए सप्लाई उतनी हो नहीं पा रही. अब वहाँ पे सप्लाई उतनी 100 रुपये की सप्लाई भी नहीं हो पा रही, तो हुआ क्या, जो 100 रुपये की डिमांड जो कर्जा लेके आए थे लोन पे, अब उनकी रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट बढ़ने लग गई, तो दे थिंक अबाउट यार डिमांड गिरा दो. तो इशू क्या आ गया, डिमांड है लेकिन दे आर नॉट एबल टू cover their demand out. So that is why the reason comes out कि यार गवर्नमेंट करे तो क्या करे, इधर दे कैन रेज द इंटरेस्ट रेट आउट. अगर इंटरेस्ट रेट बढ़ा देंगे तो डिमांड ऑटोमेटिक कम होती नजर आएगी, क्योंकि उनके पास लोन लेने के पैसा नहीं बचेगा. अब लोन लेने के लिए पैसा नहीं बचा, ऊपर से बाहर से सप्लाई शॉर्टेज इतनी आ रही है, सो दे आर नॉट एबल टू कवर इट आउट. और उसको बैलेंस करने के लिए दैट इज़ द मेन इशू. वो जो डिले हो रहा है उनका डिसीजन मेकिंग पावर में लेके, उस चक्कर में मार्केट में काफ़ी कन्फ्यूजन क्रिएट आउट हुआ है, जहाँ तक मुझे कमोडिटीज़ का एस्पेक्ट आउट दिख रहा है. दैट इज़ द रीज़न. अगर आप देखोगे कि नॉट जस्ट द कमोडिटीज़ पार्ट, आप देखोगे नेचुरल गैस भी काफ़ी ज़्यादा टॉप से नीचे गिर के आ गई थी, और एल्यूमिनियम प्राइसेस बाकी जितने स्टॉक्स हैं वो इसलिए कमोडिटीज़ मार्केट में इसलिए गिर के आ गए थे, बिकॉज उनकी डिमांड इतनी प्राइस इतनी चढ़ गई कि लोगों ने भाई इतनी प्राइस है, डिमांड है, लेकिन हम पे कहाँ से करें इतनी हाई कॉस्ट पे. और इशू क्या हो रहा है कि प्राइस तो गिर गई लेकिन कंपनी वो प्राइसेस नहीं गिरा रही. तो दैट इज द रीजन वो डिमांड होते हुए भी वो फुलफिल नहीं कर पा रहे.
Like I want to make a point here that when you are saying that company, yeah, I'm agree with you. The companies are not passing on the cost because that is the one reason that our wholesale price index is very high than our retail price index. I don't believe in those factors, but this is like seeing a reason. I see that as a reason. But like now, let me give you another scenario. I'm living in Rajasthan, Bhilwara. It's a very small town. Government of India is distributing wheat or like ration to 80 crores of our population, almost like everywhere, every state government, and this is a political agenda that we all provide you freebies and you give us the vote. So thing is that what I have seen here, people get that particular thing, like particular commodity from the ration store, and they don't bring that to the home. They just straightforward go to their next retail store, they sell it. I know some persons who get 1,000 rupees per month for selling their commodities to those particular retail investors. So I think like the money, India have no issue if interest rate is there or not there, because we have a parallel economy which is generated through run through the cash, which is unaccounted everywhere. And this ration thing is happening all across the India, not in my particular state, because I traveled. I live in Mumbai. There is the same situation. Delhi, we already seen in the news like what these guys are doing. They get atta and the flour and everything. So as like, yeah, the situation is that supply is not properly there, but things are like people are managing that. So I'm not that worried about the situation, but yeah, there are problems. And your point is right that still now that these companies are not passing their pain to the retail customer, but this is going to hurt them also and hurt the investor also, because in the next quarter, in the end of this quarter, when we are going to see the results of these FMCG companies, which are like essential for right now, then we are going to see so much pain in their financials. And I don't want to say this, but I'm going to say this. If you see a company, FMCG companies which have a very great result in this quarter, I think you should check your investment and check their balance sheet continuously again and again. You can find something there, because this quarter is the most painful quarter for Indian economy till now. That's it from my side.
दैट इज ट्रू सर. इवन आई एम आल्सो फ्रॉम राजस्थान जयपुर साइड ना, तो मुझे पता है कि राशन 5 रुपए का मिलता है सरकारी स्कीम के अंदर में, फिर वो जाके 100 रुपए में बेचते हैं. पर यहाँ पे इशू क्या रहा है, वो ग्राउंड लेवल रूरल एरियाज के जो पैसे को एक दिन की दारू में उड़ा भी देते हैं. बट इशू क्या है, उनकी वो दारू की जो बाटली है ना, वो पहले 10 रुपए की आती थी, खैर 110 की आती थी, अब वो जाके उनकी 200 रुपए की हो गई. तो वो भी अब क्वांटिटी की कम हो गई इस चक्कर में. दैट इज वॉट द रीजन आई वाज सेइंग इट आउट. बट एनीवे आई थिंक देवेश करके एक और आया हुआ है. आई थिंक देवेश वोरा सर इज ऑल्सो है. हाय देवेश वोरा, हाउ आर यू? यू वांट टू से समथिंग? देवेश वोरा सर, आई थिंक देवेश वोरा जी हैज जॉइंड इट, बट माय लास्ट एक आवर से तो सेशन चला ही रहे, रूम आउट चला ही रहते. And Mavi sir, it's wonderful interacting with you. I think that's a wonderful conversation as well. You bring out the wonderful point as well with regards to the commodities. But वही ये सब prices factors इतना high है कि एक even I'll tell you one more thing. Recently, just last week back, discussion with one of the Bridgestone जिनके टायर्स वगैरह आते हैं, उनके मेरे डीलर्स के साथ conversation हुआ था, and literally said कि संचय the company is planning on to increase the price of their rubber tires. अब ऑलरेडी पहले एक साल पहले जो टायर का भाव 3,500 रुपए का था, वो भी रिसेंटली तो भी 4,500 रुपीज, 4,500 का हो गया. अब उसको बढ़ा के कम से कम 5,100 5,300 के आसपास कर रहे हैं. सो यू कैन इमेजिन आउट द प्राइसेस ऑफ द रबर इज इंक्रीजिंग, बट स्टिल द डिमांड द गैप इज इंक्रीजिंग. सो अपने कहावत है राजस्थान में कि एक बार अगर वो प्राइस बढ़ा देते ना, तो घटाने में ना उनकी नानी याद आ जाती है.
कंप्लीटली एग्री विद यू कि एक बार प्राइस गया, ऊपर गया मतलब गया, फिर तो क्वांटिटी कम होगी, वेट कम होगा, बट प्राइस नीचे नहीं आएगा.
That is true. That is true. That is true. So that's all for the day part. I think Chetan sir, ending closing part. Anything you would like to share it out?
One second, I just wanted to maybe because we have Anurag with us here. Anurag, in May 2022, the FIs have sold around 54,000 crores, and again this month it looks like that they are selling. So when will this selling spree stop, and when will we start getting? When will they become neutral to India, or they start allocating to India? Because if they continue like this is also a risk factor. Till now, DII is a holding, but when retail starts seeing loss on the SIPs and the investments over a year and a half, 2 years, how do you think these things can pan out? Like we are saying, Indian growth is all right, but what about the sentiment from the FI selling and negative sentiment? And what about the if the positive sentiment from the DIs goes down a little bit?
That's a valid question, Chetan. I mean, in fact, I was just thinking about this 2 weeks back. I was just reading the similar kind of numbers as to what you just hinted upon, and very rightly said at this point in time, we haven't seen an absolute ditch fall in the market just for the fact that DIIs are still holding the fort. There have been days wherein there's been a steep fall in the market, because FIIs have just gone ahead and sold whatever they could have sold, but DIIs were major buyers. And not just DIs, for that matter, I think, even the retail investor at this point in time, private groups and, financial investors. I'm so sorry. Yeah. So, as far as I think, see, Sanchit just came up with a valid point, and we have to understand, the basic micros at this point in time, and then, we can just go over to the macros. For the micros first, everyone for that matter, DIIs, the major buyers in the DIIs, let's just call them the mutual funds. Earlier in the discussion, as Sanchit, pointed out the fact that, the SIPs have increased. But to what extent? Let's just think about it. A monthly household, any monthly household, let's take an example. Let's just say A and B. A has a monthly household of what, let's say 100 rupees. The way prices have been increasing, the way, the inflation has been biting into the common man's pocket, how much money can the same individual allocate to the same SIP? I mean, the money basket is pretty much the same. That is not increasing every single month, but the inflation is increasing every single month. The 100 rupees that you had in your wallet in the month of Jan is not the same at this point in time. It decreased in March. It further decreased in April, May, and June. At this point in time, perhaps, its perception value is 85 if it was 95 in March. And the SIP that you've got to hold is 8. Let's say 8 or 10, whatever. You do not have any disposable income if the inflation keeps increasing the way it has been. I think the foremost thing, Chetan, at this point in time, now that we've just taken a basic example with the paucity of time, discussing the micro at the ground root level of, let's say, any common man for that matter, whether it be you or me or anybody out there. Going up to the macros, I genuinely think once these inflationary pressures are controlled, which is pretty much tight, as you rightly mentioned, that once the prices go up, there's a word for what you just for people for what people were discussing at this point in time. Once inflation has peaked out, right? If you cannot do anything else, then you come up with shrinkflation. Shrinkflation is wherein the packets kind of shrink. Let's say, for example, a 40 grams packet is now 35. That cannot happen in the case of Bridgestone tires. Sadly, you cannot shrink a tire. You cannot. There's so many commodities which cannot be shrinked. So the manufacturer takes a hit. That's one of the reasons why Asian Paints is down to one of its lowest levels in the last 2 years. So yeah, I genuinely think once the inflation is taken care of, it's only after that that the common man can further take out the money and spend in the markets. As far as markets, by markets I mean invest more. And I genuinely think the spending season would be good this time around. Because the government, the RBI, all the institutions at this point in time are taking all the evasive measures that they were supposed to, and in time they're doing it. So if in the next 2 months all these pressures are under control, we could have a good spending month. And by spending month, I mean the period which we see after what do you call it, August or September, Chetan, if I'm not wrong, where the Indian customer starts going out and buying. So to say, the Diwali times. That's my take on it, Chetan.
Yeah, thank you, Anurag. Yeah,
I think Mahaveer sir wants to say something. Mahaveer sir, you want to say something?
Yes, sir. I want to add a point in the Anurag's view that I think war is not going to over very soon, because whatever news we are listening in the current media is it's deployed by the deployed by the Western countries. We haven't heard anything from Russia till now. If you check Russia's history, they have this experience of war they have a very long history with the war. Like last war is the Chechen war. That war goes almost 7 years. Before that, they have war with Finland that goes almost 3 to 5 years. And I also read that news that there is a ceasefire news, but at the same time, if you check today, America have also sanctioned a new package of 450 million as a military aid to Ukraine. So if they are going to do ceasefire, why US is again sanctioning 450 million as a military aid? Why not the peace aid or like a human corridor to refugees to go in other Western countries? So why military aid right now when there is a talk? Because Macron, France president, or maybe I'm not sure whose country's president he is, he have already lost majority in his country, and right now he wants to build a image in the global world. So I think these are only talks, nothing going to be happen easily. There might be a periodic break for 1 month or maybe 10 to 15 days, but I don't think that war is going to over very easily. There's my view.
I think it's a rabbit hole, if we just get into it about talking about the war, but it's a very valid point. If I could just, add a few things herein with your permission, Sanchit and Chetan. To take the last two questions, what Chetan asked and what Mahaveer just said. See, one of the reasons why markets took a huge hit in the last 2 weeks was, 15, 16 days back when Russia announced that they have actually taken orders for the next 4 months and they're completely out on their, oil bills. All their oil is already for the next 4 to 5 months is already sold. And this, kind of parked this thought into every analyst's mind that they already have a lot of funds to keep the war going. I mean, this was something, which was pretty clear after that. So they have the funds to, keep this going on. Second of all, yes, you're right. The two main guys, who are actually at this point in time, who are trying to, be the messiah of the so-called, situation, the geopolitical situation, the French president who's trying to, mediate the talks, Emmanuel, and Joe Biden at this point in time. They both have their lowest all-time rating, in their presidency at this point in time. Even for that matter, Joe Biden for this particular quarter ending is supposed to. It's been presumed that he might as well end up with the lowest goodwill rating for a president. So yeah, I mean, they're just trying to find a reason, maybe, to come out and be perceived well. But yeah, if it does go on, Indonesia, if a few months back had put an export ban on palm oil, and palm oil is something which is crucial, for the production of so many industrial goods as well as so many retail essentials. And at that point in time, at the same time, Ukraine is the wheat basket. So yeah, I mean, we're actually staring down something which could be a geopolitical mayhem. But I mean, let's just time unfold the mystery, whatever it's supposed to be. We are genuinely not in a position to predict anything on that. But yeah, valid points, and thank you so much, Sanchit. Thanks a lot. That was my input.
Thank you, Anurag. Back to you, Sanchit. Sanchit, you're there?
I think he might be facing a glitch. Chetan, why don't you take over?
Yeah, so basically, I think we've all discussed the points, the micros and the macros, and it's all a balancing game in the present context. As you all said, there's interest rates, inflation, central bankers, Fed. On the other side, we have good growth and all. I mean, we have a stable growth just for the time being in India. So it's all a balancing act for the time being, and we have to see. Though I think it is expected, Anurag, that RBI may go in for 2 more rate hikes or something like that. What would you say to that, Anurag?
I think 2 definitely, Chetan, at this point in time, because see, the last discussion that we just had, the last statements that were discussed was somewhere around geopolitics. See, we have to understand whether it's RBI, whether it's Fed. Mostly, we've got to give it to this Chetan and Sanchit. Most of the policies, when it comes to such crucial measures, are somewhere there, they're politically related. And at this point in time, the lower strata is very badly hit as far as inflation is concerned. So for the middle income people, right? I genuinely think, controlling the prices at this point in time would be a major priority, not just for the current government, keeping the next elections, which is 20 months away, but, also the upcoming, demand season. So they would want to control inflation before the demand season comes in, because these are sensitive times. If somebody's not able to go out and buy their basics or have a good festive season, that does affect the emotion of the economy per se. So I genuinely think the next 3 months are going to be devoted. So yeah, I think you're right. Every monetary policy committee which happens once in a month, in the next 3 there could be slight rate hikes, so that they don't have to do it in the months of September, October, and November. I genuinely don't think they would be doing that in October for sure. So yeah, that leaves us with 3, July, August, and September going forward. Let's hope it's just 2 and it gets controlled in the next 2. They don't have to spike it in the 3rd month. I hope so, yeah.
Yeah, but Anurag, there's one other factor that looking at the FII outflows and the way they're selling every day, 2,000, 3,000. I think one day they sold 7,000 crores. And we all know that at peak valuation, they were worth $643 billion. Today, they are worth around $530 billion. But they've hardly sold, they have sold $35 billion, maybe 7%. but they have a whole, they have a big kitty, and FIs could be not one. One FI could be Sanchit, one could be me, one could be you. So they don't work in tandem. So if the global growth, like you said correctly, falters, or USA halts, or there's some problem in the sense of halts in the economy goes down, we have maybe it might not be like a 2008, but still slowing down of the US economy could have some repercussions, and there could be some flight to safety. So the only thing that we have is, like you said, growth, moderate growth that we have. Secondly, obviously, that India has not fallen so much in comparison to the other markets, though to the emerging markets we are at a premium. That's also a risk factor. On price earning ratios, we are maybe one standard deviation above average of 15-16 PE. But there, the earnings are the ones which can support us or which can take us down. So that means we are dependent on all these factors, and the biggest factor we are dependent on why we haven't gone down to 12,500 or 13,000 on the Nifty is the DII support. Now, insurance companies and mutual funds cannot have an unlimited supply of money with them to keep on propping up the markets. So what do you think, Anurag? How is this thing going to be? This is a very fine balancing act, which I feel. I'm only skeptical about the retail number. That will the retail guy keep on supporting? Because today I read a tweet by one of the well-known market persons. I won't name him. He said, my daughter says that 12 months की SIP अब negative दिख रही है मुझे. So should I stop the SIP and should I go back to FD? If that is how the youth measures performance every year and they don't have that long-term vision, can it sustain, or is it only the youth which has come in, or the young investors, or there are some other people also in this entire SIP book?
That's actually very valid, Chetan. In fact, I remember my niece that day, she had to put up this tweet, and I was baffled by that. And the tweet read, "Kis ghadi mein maine crypto ka account banaya tha?" So I genuinely second you on that. And in fact, in the last 2 days, I think in the last week or so, Chetan, please correct me if I'm wrong, FIs have, kind of just sneaked back, and, they have started, buying in the last 3 or 4 days. And I genuinely think that's only because of this false, or let's hope it's truth, but this kind of a mystic image that is being created of the complete ceasefire.
No, I must interrupt you, Anurag. No, they haven't started buying. They just slowed down the pace of selling. So
yeah,
from 7,000 crores, they've come down to 2,500 crores. But the way they've been selling, yeah, you're right. They could slow down to zero also. They could become positive also. But we're just afloat on hope, it looks like, on DIIs. And how long can the DIIs support?
I genuinely think, Chetan, it's a very valid point. In fact, that is something which is the main cause of concern.
Yeah,
because
one second, Anurag, but there's one positive point which I read somewhere. The EPF, the Employee Provident Fund, can now go up to 20, might go up to 25%. Now, I don't know whether that's good or bad for the subscribers, but it would be good for the markets, for the DII, because I think that adds 2,000-3,000 crores a month. But whether that's that's not substantial to hold the market, but it's one point. Yeah. Anurag, you there?
Yeah, I think I can talk now. Yes. Pretty much valid, Chetan. I genuinely think, I read this actually 2 weeks back. This was announced 15 days back, if I'm not wrong, that now, the EPF funds are going to increase. But that's only on the basics of the entire salary. But that being apart, you're right, that does add at least $500 million to the DI kitty, wherein they can invest wherever they can. But let's come back to the current scenario at this point in time. You're absolutely right. They just have limited paucity. To one extent only, they can just go out and keep buying and hold the fort, as we should be calling it, because they are holding the fort. Let's be very honest about that. And at one point in time, when they genuinely think that they are not able to, because see, we have to understand, the DIIs are also, just mutual fund companies or insurance firms, as you rightly called it. If they buy at the wrong time, if they are not, you cannot time the market, that's correct. But if they are buying at the wrong time and the markets further go down, they have to, in the long term, show up the results. They have to generate the alpha for their investors as well. If they're not able to do that, they're not doing their job. So at one point in time, they would not want to buy at the wrong price. I genuinely think once these so to say mystic illusions of the ceasefire and the pricing gone wrong, if these mystic illusions bust, they wouldn't be holding the fort. They wouldn't be interested in doing that because then they would be going into the beta phenomenon. They would rather be going into negative growth, and that would affect their reputation for years to come. They wouldn't want to do that. So let's hope so. That doesn't happen. If that happens, they would not want to buy further, and that would, I'm afraid, lead to just a windfall, down spike in the markets, as we've seen, for the Nasdaq, for that matter. It has gone beyond, below, even beyond 11,000, if I'm not wrong, Chetan, which is their 14-month back price for Nasdaq.
Yeah, thanks, Anurag. I know this is too debative at this point of time. There are pros and cons to both sides of the story, but there are risk factors also. If we start looking at them too closely, then we'll get too bearish. But just now, obviously, it's darkest before dawn. So obviously, it could be a base formation also, but it's too early to say. And like we said, that there's no investment advice in this group, so that is there. Yeah, back to you, Sanchit. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. I think we are already being done with the room session part. It's been an hour, and it's a wonderful discussion we all had it out. I think everyone had a good time being after a being while. So let's go ahead with the closing part. I hope, guys, you all have come up. Whoever being there for a while being. I think Harshal was there, KB Singh and Satan sir was there. We've been listening. Ketan sir was there to listening. And thank you, Mahaveer sir. It's really wonderful to interact with you. I think that's a wonderful way of having a podcast like this session right, again and again. I think we have to plan Chetan sir again and again so that we met some amazing persons like Mahaveer sir. What do you think? Yes, Chetan sir, what do you think? We have to do all these session again and again. I think Chetan sir went on
Yeah, we
texting.
have to do this session, and like we normally get so many renowned speakers that they come also. Today it was just to hear from the public, but I think the public would like to hear from the speakers. So we will get the speaker next time
No, no, we
also.
have to get used to it. We have to get used to it. At least 7 भी है, कल को 10 भी आएंगे, 20 भी आएंगे.
No,
Every
I'm not
has a
talking about the
story
number.
style.
I'm not talking about number of people. I was just saying that the sometimes we need those market views also. So we will continue to have those market views also from those speakers also at times. I was saying that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true, that's true. Even a small steps can build up a huge ladder path. So कहते हैं ना एक बूंद से भी घड़ा बढ़ता है. So let's do this SIP again and again of this podcast. And again guys, we'll see you next week soon. क्योंकि हमारी भी ये छोटी छोटी SIP जल्दी काम आएगी किसी ना किसी के लिए भी, which we are doing it postcards to the awareness. Thank you guys for being here all and have a good day. Thank you so much, Ketan sir. Thank you so much, Anurag and Mahaveer sir,
Thank
for
you
being
so much
here.
for doing it. Thank you.
It's all been
Thank you.
pleasure, sir.
Take care, guys. Take care. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much. Take care, guys. Thanks, Sanchit. Thanks, Chetan. Thanks a lot, guys.